We live in a world that promises us infinite options. We're standing at this incredible crossroads where, every store aisle, every app, every single menu is just this universe of possibilities. We've always been told that all this choice, well, it would set us free. But what if it's actually doing the exact opposite?
Really think about it for a second. Have you ever stared at a restaurant menu that feels like it's a novel? Or spent, like an hour scrolling through a streaming service only to just give up and not watch anything at all? That feeling? That kind of frozen, I can't decide feeling? You are definitely not alone. It actually has a name, and it uncovers a really surprising truth about the world we live in today.
For as long as we can remember, the goal has always seemed pretty simple. More. More choice was supposed to be the pinnacle of freedom, a sign of progress and personal power.
Just look at this. A modern supermarket aisle is basically a temple built to the idea of choice. You've got thousands of products, all fighting for your attention, each one whispering about a slightly different, slightly better path to happiness. It's a really dazzling display of opportunity.
And the logic behind it all seems totally solid, right? If you have more options, you've got a way better shot of finding the perfect one, the one that's just right for you. This is the promise we've all kind of bought into. But what if that promise is flawed?
So, this is where our whole story takes a really interesting turn. Because it turns out, when the number of choices just explodes, something strange and honestly totally counterintuitive starts to happen. That freedom we were all chasing, it starts to feel a lot more like a burden.
And here it is. This is the core of the whole problem, the paradox of choice. It's this psychological idea that our brains they aren't built for an infinite number of options. So instead of feeling empowered and free, we just feel paralyzed.
So what this paradox is really telling us is that the very thing we thought was the key to being happy
is actually its complete opposite. More choice often leads to less satisfaction. More options can lead to less happiness. More is less.
And believe me, this idea runs deep. A psychologist named Barry Schwartz, who really pioneered all this research, he pointed out that our entire society is basically built on this dogma of maximizing choice for everyone. So this paradox, it doesn't just challenge a small idea, it challenges one of the most fundamental beliefs we have about what makes our lives better.
Okay, so let's really get into it. What's the actual tangible cost of this paradox? Because it's not just about being a little inconvenienced. We're talking about a real emotional toll. It all starts right here, with just the sheer overwhelming volume of it all that visual noise, all those endless options. It actually triggers a stress response in our brains.
And the direct result of all that overstimulation
Is anxiety. It's that pressure to make the absolute best choice, the fear of missing out on something better, and just the mental exhaustion of trying to compare everything. It all adds up to this very real feeling of distress. So the big question is why? Why does this happen to us? Well, it boils down to a few key things. First, you've got decision paralysis. You're so overwhelmed you just end up choosing nothing at all. Then comes increased regret. Even if you make a good choice, you can't help but wonder about all the other options you didn't pick. Then your expectations escalate. With so many choices, you expect absolute perfection, and you're almost always let down. And finally, there's self-blame. If you're not happy with your choice, who can you blame? You feel like it's your fault because you had every other option right there in front of you. Okay, so if having too much choice is the problem, what's the solution? Are we supposed to have no choice at all? No, not exactly. It's really about completely rethinking our relationship with choice itself and finding a smarter way forward. So the research points to two kinds of decision makers. On one side, you have maximizers. These are the folks who feel like they have to find the absolute best option out there. They check everything, they analyze endlessly, and as you can see, they're way more likely to feel anxious and regretful. But on the other side, you have Satisficers. They have a list of what they need, and as soon as they find something that's good enough to meet that list, they choose it and they move on. Now, take a wild guess which group reports being happier with their decisions.
So the big takeaway here isn't to live a life with zero options. That's not the goal. It's about becoming a better curator of your own choices. It's about learning to be more of a Satisficer, to figure out what you actually need, ignore all the extra noise, and just choose what is good enough to make you happy.
And that really brings us to our final thought. For centuries, we've been building a world that offers us more of everything because we truly believe that was the secret to well-being. But if we now know that's not really the answer, it leaves us with a pretty profound question, doesn't it? If more isn't the key, then what is? What truly leads to a satisfied, happy life?